Hi there. It is Valentine's Day, February 14th, Friday. So hope everybody has a nice dinner planned or something, at least something maybe special today. There's some really fun things going on around here, or at least personally. I gotta let you in on it. Um, that was a piece I wrote many years ago. I think I've told you about this story before. It's called Montaña de Oro. And I was really sick with high fever and everything else. I was hanging out at this place where had taken a bunch of middle schoolers. My son was probably in seventh grade, maybe, on a mountain bike trip down near Morro Bay. And anyhow, I had to let him go and get off the trail and just sit in the car and wait for him. So sweating and sick and everything, and ended up writing this really gentle piece that the only reason it even crossed my mind today is I've been working on some. We're a couple weeks away, if all goes well, from busting out the new lessons. And it has given me a chance to work on some really difficult ones. I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not, but I mean, it's given me a chance to try to revisit some pieces that I've sort of abandoned over the years. And I'm in drop D tuning because I'll tell you that story in just a second as to what I'm working on in drop D. That you're gonna have to let me know if you're interested in working on it, because it's about as close to a 10 as anything I've ever put out there before. Then there's another one that's a solid 9. Yeah, I'm in drop D, so I shouldn't have started that. But so I'm working on some of the complicated instrumentals you've heard me mess around with over the years, and trying to get planning on getting some lessons out on them. The percussive ones. Uh-oh, yeah. I should have just retuned into a standard tuning, except I kind of wanted to tell you this story. The first story I want to tell you, I'll get back to that one, is my guitar. Every once in a while I send the guitar back to its home where it was made, to Ed Claxton's over the hill in Santa Cruz. And it's mostly just to let him like polish it up and clean it up, because I play so much, well, most of the time. Over the last few months it's been a little different. But that the guitar gets really grimy. He's happy to like take it and run it through like the car wash over there and clean up all the dirt and crud, places where it's worn away because I've got skin touching it there and here all the time, and where your hand hits up in here, hand grime gets in there. But I think I mentioned a little while ago. Oh, so it came back and it feels like a new guitar. It's like it just came off the rack, and new strings. Although now they're a week and a half old, so they're not sounding as good as they should have. But what I really wanted to tell you about was something that Muriel Anderson left here. She was here a couple of weeks ago for a few days. She has, I don't have this within sight. Her latest project is called The Acoustic Chef. I might have mentioned this a few weeks ago. So it's a cookbook of recipes she's accumulated from her travels around the world. And we had some Tuvan dumplings here the other night that she made for us. But it was great. So I don't think it's available yet, but be sure to check out everything Muriel does is fascinating. And so now she's got her heart. Her heart's always been in cooking too. So she's sharing these recipes and trying to keep them spread around the guitar playing world. But it comes along with a CD with a lot of songs kind of inspired by or designed to go along with the meal. So we were listening to it while we ate the Tuvan dumplings. And but that's not what I want to tell you about. Really want to tell you about this product she brought and left one here that also is now not within reach because I have it out in the studio, called Guitar Hands. And it's basically a cleanser. You put a little bit on your hands. It's in a tube about this big. You put a little bit on your hands and rub it in, and then go rinse it off. And man, my hands felt spotless. So I've been trying to do that now every time I pick up the guitar, and be a lot cleaner with my hands. So it's been a fun little product to mess around with. So if you're interested, check it out. I'm sure it's at guitarhands.com. We'll have the link in the text here related to this. Okay, the story I did want to tell you about. Have you seen this book? It's really thick. It's full of the original versions of ragtime pieces Scott Joplin wrote from about 1899 to 1915, when a couple of years before he died. And about, oh my gosh, 45 years ago, an album came out on Kicking Mule by a Dutch guitarist named Leo Vinkamp, and I'm not really sure the pronunciation of his name. But, and the cool thing about Kicking Mule records from those days, I'm sure some of you old timers remember them, Stefan Grossman's label with a guy named Ed Cox got this whole thing started, and I was kind of dying to be on the label at the time. I just didn't quite get Stefan and I didn't really click. But anyway, I thought it'd be really cool. Now, so I started doing some of my own arrangements of ragtime pieces, writing some of my own, and working on, and that's where I originally got the version of Heliotrope Bouquet. Anyway, you should just retune the guitar when you're going to start playing something else in a normal tuning. But I digress. So Leo had this fabulous, I thought at the time, arrangement of this. Didn't even have the intro though. So it didn't start with this. Wait a minute. Get in the right key. Etc. Now, over the years, I played it a lot. Then I wouldn't play it for 10 years. Then I'd come back and think, oh man, that was so cool, Leo's arrangement of The Entertainer. And then as I listened to the original a few more times, the original was in the key of C, and that's why I have my Scott Joplin book out now, because I finally, inspired by a student last week who wanted to learn it, I thought, I've never been completely satisfied with this version. There's always parts in it that are just still not clicking, not doing it for me. And so his lesson was, what's today, Friday? It was just last Tuesday. And so Wednesday, I kind of got back on, Wednesday I had a whole bunch of lessons, so it wasn't until really late in the day. And but between Wednesday night and yesterday, I spent a lot of time looking back over Scott Joplin's original, and even listening to Leo's version from 45 years ago, and looking at adjustments I had made to it, thinking there are parts in here that are just almost impossible or just don't sound very good. I don't know, maybe a half a dozen of them. And so I put my mind to it and I solved, I think, all of them. I can't play them all yet because they're just not fresh enough in my head. But the second section is going to go something like this. Yep, let me get focused. There we go. Came out the way it's supposed to. Anyhow, that's the whole second section, and you can see it's getting close. I just can't always quite concentrate enough. Stay focused for the whole 5 minutes that it takes to play the whole thing. Ragtime pieces, as many of you I'm sure know, typically have 4 separate sections, and they're all 16 measure masterpieces. This one is no different. Each part, and it doesn't really lend itself very well to the guitar. So trying to get this to work out on the guitar is, a labor of love. 3/4 of my life I've spent working on this. Eventually we have a third section. Let's see. into a second round of that. That part has always been, I'm pretty happy with Leo's arrangement. I added a few things to it. I can't even exactly remember what, because I did those modifications years ago. Then there's a fourth section. Well, then it comes back to the little interlude. And there's a fourth section. This is the one I changed the most just like 2 days ago. So this will not connect yet. That's so close. That was the part that was impossible. It just never worked. I changed where a few notes were, and so anyway, still haven't quite got it down. Okay, I'm gonna get it this time. Anyway, it's coming along. So if you'd like to work on that, encourage me to finish it and get a lesson together on it, because it's consuming my life. That can happen. But it has made me get back to playing. Is there anything else I want to talk about before I ramble into different tunes? I'm in drop D, I got to think about this one. This is Cobble Creek. Anyway, that's when once I start doing something in drop D, I start trying to relive and revive all my drop D tunes. Another one I keep meaning to like get a lesson together on, or even get a good recording of. That I think I have one. That one's called Imagine That. Anyway, what do we have at the site that's in drop D? There's of course this. Okay, that is it for today. I think, let's see, we talked about guitar hands, we talked about Scott Joplin, pretty much everything I wanted to get through today. And I am going back to practice. My fingers are like sore from working on all these little things. next week.